Hello everyone, welcome to episode 3 of Traitorous season 2, Distance. If what you are hearing does not match up with what you are seeing, that's because I'm dubbing over this and editing. This is not the live audio from the intro. Sometimes when I do a stream and I use music for pre-stream or the commercial breaks, or both, as I do in Traitorous, Twitch likes to mute it afterwards. I have been downloading Traitorous episodes literally right after I'm done streaming to hopefully grab them before parts are muted. It has worked so far. For whatever reason, even though I downloaded this episode right after I was done streaming, Twitch still got its hands on it in muted portions, and often the muted portions go into my speaking, which is the irritating part. So if there are portions in this episode that the audio doesn't match up with my mouth, it's because I am dubbing over it in editing, and I'm not going to make this preface in any other episodes in the future that this happens on. So if there's any other episodes coming down the pipeline in season 2 that end up having some dubbing like this, just know that that is why. Even though Twitch muted it, I want you guys to still get the full story, so I'm dubbing over them like I did in season 1. I was hoping not to have to do this in season 2, but fortunately it looks like we might need to, at least on this episode, so that's why. But thank you for being here. I hope you are excited for episode 3 of season 2, Distance. It should be a fun one. Hopefully it is about the same length as usual. I've been kind of keeping it to 9 commercial breaks. That's sort of a system I figured out during Sharpest Tool that worked out to be like a good time frame. Sort of the way I've been doing Traitorous as well, and it's been working out so far. There's only 8 tonight, but 2 of the scenes should be decently long ones, so I'm hoping that kind of evens out and doesn't end up too short. But I apologize if this also ends up being a little bit of a shorter one on accident. I think that's all my disclaimers. Episodes 1 and 2 are on YouTube if you didn't know. There's also recaps in the Discord, of course. I'm just getting things set up for our first scene here while I'm talking. I don't know, is there anything else I need to say? This is going to be another, probably a little bit not as, domestic as last one. I feel like the last one was really domestic-y. This is probably going to be another, pretty dialogue-heavy one, but hopefully it's still fun. We're still in the beginning half of the season, as things, we're still in the rising action. So without further ado, thank you for being here. I hope you're excited, and let's go ahead and get into Traitorous Season 2, Episode 3, Distance. As we begin with a flashback, as always, tonight's flashback, we are not going too far in the past yet again. Last episode, we only went to 2020, and this episode, we are also only going to be going to 2020, but a little bit earlier in 2020 even, actually, right back to the night that we ended off Season 1 on. So we are back at the Ritter family home here, and we are at the Ritter Charity Gala. Most people are downstairs having a grand time dancing, partying as such, as we saw in the finale there. But at some point, after a little conversation, a bit after that, Marissa was seen dragging Brent through the ballroom and upstairs, but we never really followed up with what was going on there. And so tonight, we're going to see what was happening back upstairs while everyone else was still going about their festivities at the gala here. And so upstairs in the little home theater area of the Ritter home, Marissa has dragged Brent up here, who is looking pretty nervous, but you know what, let's actually make him scared, so his face will be a bit nervous here. Not 100% understanding why Marissa has suddenly dragged him on up here, as she clearly looks pretty irate, just sort of pacing back and forth in front of him. If the anger was not apparent by the way she callously dragged him up here and threw him on the couch. But as she kind of paces a bit, trying to collect herself in the face of Brent's confusion, finally turn to him and just be like, okay, what do you know? Brent looking quite confused right away, replying, Christ, what is wrong with you? What are you talking about? Marissa just continuing to pace pretty much the entire time, as she only turns to look at him as she addresses him, just snapping at it. Don't fuck around with me. Brent saying, I am not trying to. I have no idea what the hell you're getting at. Marissa is saying, sake, that little comment you made under your breath earlier that I very much heard. As Brent just genuinely looks incredibly confused, Marissa kind of sighing and pinching the bridge of her nose, sort of looking around to make sure that definitely the music is drowning them out before getting a little bit quieter and stepping close to Brent, saying, when we were discussing the families in attendance and you said something about those being the names on his computer. Brent just kind of going, oh, did I? Somewhat recalling it, but we know not necessarily having the best memory at most times, as Marissa just doesn't quite care about that in this moment, saying, yeah, you did, so spill. As I'm gonna get them into an argument, but hopefully they, we'll see if Brent stays sitting down. We'll see. As Brent says, I barely remember what names. Marissa cutting him off and saying, the names of your brother's clients whose screen did you see them on, and what do you know? Brent kind of reeling back at her anger, increasing in intensity as they talk. As he says, all right, okay, right, I don't know anything, really. Those names just had been rattling around in my head for a while for whatever reason, and then when you were talking about them, it finally clicked. I guess because I'm finally clearing my head and getting a grip on my thoughts for the first time in a while, and Marissa not really caring to hear him wax on about his personal growth in life, of course, cutting him off once more and saying, where did you see them? As excuse me, Brent says, guy, all right, on Hunter's computer. Marissa, screeching and barely catching herself and toning down the volume at the end, just going, what? As Hunter kind of peeks his head around the corner, somewhat unrelated to that, but very good timing on his part, as he kind of peeks his head around the corner at the door up here, having just been told by Rosalie downstairs that she saw Marissa last dragging Brent up to the upper floor. As Marissa sees him, Hunter just kind of whispering, hey, Marissa, what the hell? Everyone saw you dragging Brent Winston through the house. What the fuck is happening? As Marissa walks over near the doorway again, saying, shut up, get in here. As Hunter definitely looks a bit more scared now as well, closing the door behind him. Here, let me get rid of all these conversation moodlets so we'll actually look scared and stuff again. And make Hunter scared as well. Oh, he's sad. That works well enough. As he nervously looks around, Marissa walking right up into his face as she gets quite close to him. I don't care, just say something mean to him, saying, oh, expert hacker brother of mine, how exactly did you fuck up so badly that you let a Winston see what we are working on? As Hunter goes, what? Just kind of looking over to Brent as Marissa snaps in his face like a dog, saying, eyes on me. You better be lucky Robert is stupid enough to send the drunk to do his snooping, otherwise this could have ruined everything. And might I remind you that your life is very much in my hands, Hunter. As Hunter just kind of starts to stutter and say, I don't understand. I was safe. I swear there was no way that someone would have been able to crack into anything I did. Brent, kind of taking this in, a little bit delayed behind their quick, snappy comments, but catching up to what's being said as he interjects with, wait, I'm sorry, I was never snooping for anyone. I stay out of the family business. I just saw those names on Hunter's computer when I was at the trailer. Both Marissa and Hunter kind of looking confused in different ways. Marissa just trying to, calculate in her head what this might mean, and Hunter just genuinely not sure what he's talking about either, and squinting, trying to remember when Brent might have been over there, as Brent elaborates, when I was buying from Cyprus, as recognition kind of passes over Hunter's face, finally, him saying, oh. As the tension is just kind of lingering there for a minute, as Marissa kind of collects herself before saying, you were working on our takedown of 𝕋𝕣𝕒𝕠𝕠𝕠𝕦𝕤 during a drug deal with a Winston, no less? As Hunter just kind of continues to stutter, saying, I guess I was. I don't remember specifically. Marissa just continuing to chew him out here, saying, how fucking stupid can you be? Let's get them arguing so they'll argue a little bit longer this time. Responsibilities, that works. As Hunter starts to get a little more defensive, now saying, I don't know, sorry, Marissa. I mean, with how urgent this was and how fast you wanted results, maybe I had to work at all hours of the day, and shockingly, some of those included drug deals. Marissa just quickly snapping back at him. This could have seriously screwed up our entire plan if he had half a brain to remember what was right in front of his face, apparently. Hunter saying, oh, our plan? Your plan. Your plan that you blackmailed me into completing. Don't act like this is a joint effort. He doesn't even know what's happening. As Brent does kind of interject there, though, saying, I mean, you did just say that you were plotting to take down 𝕋𝕣𝕒𝕠𝕠𝕠𝕠, so I'm starting to piece some things together. As for a very brief and uncommon moment, Marissa's resolve slips for a second as she has a little bit of the decency to look a tiny bit embarrassed, Brent noticing that brief flicker in her eyes as she realizes she's the one who fucked up and revealing a little more information there to him, but quickly slipping into her cool, calm, and collected demeanor as as the commotion starts to begin downstairs, and both of Hunter and Marissa share a knowing look, kind of knowing what is going down as they have had their plan set in motion all night. Marissa just rubbing her temples, saying, all right, get downstairs, I will join you in a minute. We should not be both be messing when this goes down. As Hunter just kind of shakily nods, sharing a little bit of a sympathetic look with Brent before heading on back downstairs to join the gala. As we know, he did kind of rush in as all of the 𝕋𝕣𝕒𝕠𝕠𝕠 clients were realizing their accounts were drained. Marissa still just getting back to pacing a little bit and rubbing her temples, trying to think and figure out what exactly is going on as, and where she wants to go from here, as she eventually turns back to Brent saying, all right, listen, I have worked too hard and for too long to have my success ruined, much less by a bumbling idiot like you. So let me make it very clear that if you say a goddamn word about any clerk being related to this scandal, you will regret it. Brent just kind of cocking an eyebrow at her, saying, is that a threat, Marissa? As she coolly smiles and replying, if that's how you took it. Brent saying, I mean, why shouldn't I warn my family? It's not like you're gonna come kill me. Come on. Marissa just sort of raising an eyebrow at him, making Brent second guess what he said, a little bit more unsure about that comment than he would have been a minute ago, but continuing on saying, I mean, you're not even gonna offer anything for my silence, as Marissa says, Fine. What do you want? I don't have any cocaine on me. As Brent says, no, never mind. Marissa is saying, tick-tock, we need to get back down there. As Brent says, alright. Look, I get it, alright? I've done a lot of things in the past that I regret to serve my own self-interest, so I can't blame you for doing the same, even if it ruins the livelihood of my own family. I couldn't care less about 𝕋𝕣𝕒𝕒𝕠𝕤𝕒 or 𝕋𝕣𝕒𝕒𝕒𝕒 or whoever's on top, but just don't let it ruin my family, okay? Just make sure they're taken care of in this. As Marissa says, you want me to help the interests of the Winstons? Brent saying, or I could go point fingers at you right now. Marissa, grumbling under her breath a minute, kind of just complaining a little bit, to herself of like, I've made sure every obstacle in my way has been dealt with, and I will add you to that list if needed, but, seeing the look on Brent's face and knowing that she's in a little bit of a bind here before finally sighing and replying, fine, I won't let the Winstons starve like the rats that they are. Happy. As Brent says, yeah, fine. Marissa, not 100% happy with how this goes, but at least hoping that her plans and her secret is safe. Sighing one more time and saying, all right, then let's go watch the show. As, obviously we know after the 𝕋𝕣𝕒𝕒𝕒𝕒 client scandal, a lot more drama was to come that night with the passing of her father and Brent's father, but we will leave them to that drama in the past. A couple things really quick before we get into this that I was going to say in the intro that I'm now remembering. I was like, I knew there's a couple things about actually this episode that I wanted to say, but totally forgot. This one is definitely going to be one, I think, just a couple scenes, nothing like too important, but this is going to be one where definitely listen to what I'm saying, not what's happening, because there's a couple things I'm envisioning in these scenes that I don't think I can really get to happen in The Sims, so we'll just go with some of the minutiae of, like, interactions and, pantomiming of things that The Sims probably aren't going to be doing, but we'll just follow my narration, not what's happening on screen necessarily, like always, but just wanted to put a little reminder, especially for certain bits in this episode. And also, I was going to say that this is it's not really a special episode, but it's a little bit different in that the way it's shaken out in what I wanted to happen, that I think this is going to be one of the first or only episodes of Traitorous that takes place over the course of one day. I think maybe there's some in season 1 that are one day, but if the lighting is obviously going to be changing rapidly in The Sims because it will be more than one sim day. But canonically in the story, we're kind of going morning to night on one full day in this episode instead of the course of 2 or 3 days like we usually do. But with that being said, we are jumping back into where we left off in our last episode, bright and early in the morning, as Robert Winston has just walked into... Oh, God. The camera hates high floors, doesn't it? Hold on. Here we go. As Robert Winston has just walked into the 𝕋𝕣𝕒𝕒𝕒𝕒𝕒 offices, and more specifically, up into the top office of Marissa Clark, of course, the current CEO and head of 𝕋𝕣𝕒𝕒𝕒𝕒𝕒, who has just taken her coffee from a very disgruntled Robert II, as she takes a little bit of a sip from it, just frowning and saying, this is cold, I don't want this. As Robert II just rolls his eyes and kind of snappily takes it back from her. These Sims should know each other, so... we'll hopefully they stay sitting and standing as they get into a conversation here. Robert grabbing the coffee cup and rolling his eyes, saying, it was barely 3 minutes. Marissa saying, I like it scalding, or not at all. As Robert just replies, yeah, I guess the internal temperature of a demon does run hot. Marissa just raising an eyebrow at him and saying, is that how you let your employees talk to you, Robert? As he scowls yet again, dumping out the coffee and crushing the cup and just carelessly tossing it into the garbage can as he goes to sit down at the chair in front of her desk here and opening a notebook, clicking out a pen. If I can get him to Oh, can he not sit? Alright, well, I guess we'll pretend he's sitting or whatever. That's fine. He can stay standing in the conversation as he pulls out a notebook and just sighing, looking at her, moving on, saying, "Fine, what is on the agenda today?" As Marissa, clearly enjoying all of this far too much, is sort of leaning back and swiveling in her chair, saying, I think the first item would be an apology for the disrespect. As Robert sighs and unclicks his pen again, saying, "I'm very sorry, Mrs. Clark, for the disrespect. Now what's on the agenda today?" As Marissa still just kind of glowers down at him, saying, "We'll have to work on that, but I'm sure we'll have plenty of opportunities for you to regain favor." As Robert says, "Cool, one item done. What a productive day so far. Next item." Marissa going, maybe a foot rub, that might help boost the apology, as he just actually slams his notebook shut at that one, sighing and holding it in his arms, as Marissa sort of giggles under her breath, saying, "Hey, I didn't have to offer you a job." Robert II saying, "And so far, I have only been proven right in my decision to wait almost a year to accept that offer." As Marissa says, "Not my fault you couldn't accept the olive branch I graciously offered when your company first tanked, but of course, like any idiotic man, you couldn't accept a helping hand until you're literally on your last dime, begging for spare change." As Robert says, "Accepting help from you is my rock bottom. You will never see me beg." As she leans forward a little bit on her desk at that, kind of giving him the once-over look and saying, "We'll see about that." As Robert looks a little bit taken aback and just continuing the irritation that has been on his face since the beginning of entering this building anyways, as Marissa says, "Did you get the paperwork I texted you about the other night?" Robert, not really bothering to verbally respond, just opening his folder there and handing her a few pieces of paper stapled together there as she sort of flips through them with a bit of a critical gaze, saying, "Good enough, I suppose, for an assistant anyway." Finally, standing up, Robert taking the moment that she walks around her desk and has her back turned to roll his eyes, try and get out a little bit of that irritation as she walks over near his chair, saying, "All right, I need 500 more copies of these. Follow me and I'll show you the copy room." Just sort of leaning down on the back of his chair that he's sitting in as she walks by and leaning like really close to his face, saying, "Don't worry, it's plenty private. Follow me, Assistant Winston." Oh, that has a nice ring to it, don't you think? As she sort of chuckles to herself once more, walking out the door. Robert, yet again, very uncomfortable with her getting, like, a little bit close to him, and taking a moment to just sigh really deeply, white-knuckling his pen, trying to collect himself before following her out, knowing that this is definitely not ideal, but, as he said, it is truly rock bottom and at dire straits of trying to at least get enough money to keep things afloat. So we'll leave Assistant Robert Winston there to his little day job. We're at the Clark estate now. The sun's going to be going down. It's a bit late in the game, but for our purposes, it is a pretty, I guess, late morning, early afternoon, approaching, 11 a.m. to noonish time, as we are in the backyard here. Oh, let me unmute Sims. But Charlie is walking up through the back way as she sees that both Cypress and Hunter are on the back porch smoking. We're going to pretend they are, just so I didn't have to take more time to actually get out drugs for them to be smoking. But, of course, Hunter and Cypress are out here having a little bit of a smoke sesh on the back porch as Charlie comes up, as they all exchange just general, hellos and stuff. Charlie taking a hit as well, as she asks, "Amanda in there?" Hunter saying, "Yeah, she's talking flowers," as Charlie goes, "Cool, preoccupied then. Chris asked me to move those 2x4s before she noticed because he forgot to before work," as Hunter and Cypress kind of chuckle as Charlie goes to the yard to kind of move some of the supplies that her brother has been bringing over for the wedding, to work on stuff that were supposed to be moved a bit ago, but he definitely forgot to. Just kind of chatting with them while she works a little bit, as Hunter says, Chris still running the practice then? As Charlie says, yeah, he just kind of never stopped running the Clark family medicine ever since our dad just kind of disappeared, Cypress looking a little bit concerned and saying, oh, you still haven't seen your dad since the funeral? Charlie saying, I haven't really had a desire to. I mean, he wires me $250 every month, so I know he's alive, but other than that, I haven't really had the desire to reach out anyways. As she's speaking there, finishing up her work, and on the tail end of her comment there, being picked up by Rona, who is exiting onto the porch, immediately frowning at the, weed smoke that is in the air out here, as she says, how he raised such disrespectful children with us as parental examples growing up, I'll never know. As Charlie just kind of rolls her eyes at her grandmother joining them on the porch again. Rona walking over to Hunter here and saying, Hunter, dear, put that out. I don't want drugs on my property. I didn't want them when you were a teenager, and I don't want them here now. And don't pull young Charlotte into your illegal activities. Cypress just kind of rolling her eyes and saying, Charlie's an adult. As Hunter also rolls his eyes saying, all good, Mom. We were just heading inside. As Rona says, all of you. Charlie going, yep, all of us. See you later, Grandma. Rona just saying, Charlotte, you really shouldn't smoke. Heaven forbid any of you heathens have your heart give out like my poor sweet Justin. It can just happen so suddenly. As Charlie's just like, okay, yeah, there's too much to unpack in that sentence, so yeah, I'm heading inside. Rona looking a little bit annoyed at her granddaughter, as Rona says, fine, yes, I'm also headed out on some errands, so my porch better smell smoke-free by the time I'm back. Putting her purse over her shoulder, and heading on out herself. As the other three do, in fact, head inside. Let me go ahead and get them into the dining room here really quick before we continue. Alright, yes, as they head in here, of course, we have Rosalie. As Cypress was saying, Rosalie is here talking to Amanda about flowers and things with the sketch pad on the table, just kind of scrolling through her sketch pad, showing Amanda a couple of ideas here. Amanda... describe no idea, perfect. Amanda just looking through them and going like, oh, okay, yes, oh my goodness, yes, that's gorgeous, but I also do really like the little pink ones on the other, that one, so can we combine those two? As Rosalie says, well, they're a lot smaller, so I'll have to double the volume, which will need a budget increase. But Amanda already brushing her off, going, oh, please, just do what I want and I'll send you the bill. As Rosalie says, alrighty then, yeah, totally. Amanda going, Charlie, look at this. Kind of pushing the sketch pad over to Charlie, who has looked a little bit startled ever since she entered the house. Cypress just kind of taking a seat and making herself home here. Hunter kind of heading over to the kitchen to grab a snack or grab a drink here. We'll mix a drink, sure. As Charlie takes a look at the sketch pad briefly, saying, yeah, beautiful, but quickly turning her attention over to Rosalie, going, hi, you're the florist for the wedding? Amanda's saying, oh my goodness, yes, I'm so rude. Charlie, Rosalie, Charlie. She's making my wedding look like the fairy tale of my dreams. Charlie going, yeah, wow. Rosalie Winston's your florist for your wedding with Chris. Charlie just kind of like looking over at Cypress for a minute, trying to give her a little bit of a look or see any kind of flash of recognition in Cypress's eyes, but Cypress looks just as confused as Amanda and even Rosalie's face right now. As Charlie just kind of squints at Cypress, but not wanting to make any more of an obvious scene, deciding to move on. Amanda prompting, yeah, is that a problem? As Charlie goes, oh, no, nope. Cypress saying, I swear, no one cares about the Clark and Winston feud, but everyone assumes that everyone else does. As Charlie goes, Amanda just kind of moving on, not quite sure what the tone that Charlie's got going on here is, but saying, Rosalie, while you're here, let me show you the flowers outside that I was talking about. Amanda just kind of pulling Rosalie away from the conversation, like yanking her arm and dragging her out into the yard before Rosalie can even protest or pick up her sketch pad even. Just kind of both of them heading on outside, and we'll pretend it's bright and sunny out, you know. Excuse me one second. Oh my god, Rosalie. I know Charlie's like super fun to talk to, but Amanda's dragging you outside. As Charlie kind of like tracks them with her eyes as they're both leaving and making sure that they're solidly outside before turning to Cypress and saying, "That's not weird to you?" Cypress just going, no, I mean, I recommended her. My sister does impeccable work. Charlie going, oh, I mean, yeah, she does. Okay, never mind. Nothing. As Hunter just comes over with, you know, some snacks and a drink, saying Charlie just gets paranoid when she's high. Charlie giggling and saying, fuck off, I was 18 and it was one time. As Hunter says, one time, I think. But as he's talking, the front door cracks open and some idle chatter can kind of be heard. Hunter immediately going bug-eyed and saying, and if Marissa's home, I will be leaving. Cypress going, how do you know that it's Marissa? Hunter just quickly gathering his snacks, saying, please, I've had a panic sensor for her since I was 10 years old. Let's jet. Cypress just kind of rolling her eyes and giggling at her partner as he drags her out as well, both of them just kind of fleeing. Charlie also just kind of giggling as, yes, indeed, he was correct. Both Marissa and Christopher actually enter the kitchen area now, both headed back. As Charlie looks over at them once they enter the room here. Oh god, don't know why we're dragging like that. But Charlie looking over at both of them saying, I thought you were both at work. As Marissa says, yes, but we both took an early lunch to discuss the security for the wedding per Amanda's request. Secure both's covering it, of course. Where is she? We only came back to run the plan that we came up with by her. As Charlie says, she's out back showing Rosalie some flower or something. Very pointedly looking at Christopher as she says that. Chris's eyes going a little bit wide, but not trying to make it super noticeable as he says, oh, Rosalie's here today. Charlie just nodding and saying, mm-hmm. As Marissa's face is just kind of scrunched up, saying, it smells like weed. Is Hunter here? Charlie just going, no, only Cypress was. As Marissa's face falls again, going, ugh, figures. As Charlie says, what, is he avoiding you or something? Give me just a moment to fix a couple needs, since I didn't stabilize them before we got into the scene. Okay, we're good. Marissa just kind of giving an annoyed look at Charlie before saying, tell Amanda to come find me when she's in. I'm gonna go gather my dry cleaning for my new assistant. Marissa headed upstairs, which we'll catch back up with her in a little bit. But leaving Charlie and Christopher alone in the dining room area here as Chris just kind of sits down over here next to the sketch pad as Charlie says to him, bets on how soon it'll take her to fuck her new assistant. Chris just saying, 2 weeks top, as he's kind of like casually scrolling through the sketch pad, like looking at the little sketches of different flower arrangements on there as Charlie goes idly tapping her fingers on the table saying, so Chris just not you know, catching what his sister's saying, or at least not wanting to acknowledge what she's getting at as he's flipping through this going, this is Rosie's then, kind of gesturing at the floral sketches. Charlie replying, yeah, it's Rosie's. So Rosalie Winston is the florist for your wedding. As Christopher just looks a little bit more sheepish this time as he continues to just flip through the sketches, saying, yeah. Charlie replying, whose bright idea was that? Christopher just ignoring her and continuing to look at the sketches as Charlie continues, because it couldn't have been yours. Amanda's, I guess, right? Since she controls every decision in your life. Chris just kind of sighing and putting the sketch pad down at that, going, Charlie, can we not do this right now? As Charlie says, we don't have to do anything, Chris. You just continue to surprise me. As, oh, Charlie, come back. As Amanda does finally filter back into the house here, I think she ended up in the house because she had to go to the bathroom, so she might come in through this direction. But Amanda heading back inside and seeing Chris here going, oh, baby, what a good surprise. Oh, aren't they beautiful? Like, seeing that he's clearly grabbed the sketch pad and was sifting through them as Chris says, yeah, did Rosalie leave? Amanda just saying, yeah, she needed to go to the fertilizer store or something. I don't know. She left her sketch pad. I'll get that to her later. Charlie saying, yeah, I gotta head out too. As she sort of gives one last pointed look at Christopher, who quickly averts his gaze, turning back to Amanda to start the conversation about, what him and Marissa spoke about with security, but we'll leave them down there to discuss the details of that as we head upstairs to where Marissa was headed, going towards her bedroom, but as she heads towards her bedroom, they're not here anymore, hold on. As she heads towards the bedroom, she is intercepted by both her child and her husband exiting Madison's bedroom here, and kind of, running into Marissa on the stairs there. As Marissa looks at both of them, all dressed up and heading down the stairs, saying, where are you going? As Shawn says, we were headed to the Boys and Girls Club to sign up for the summer program. Marissa kind of giving like a once-over of Madison's outfit, going, wearing that? Madison rolling her eyes and just saying, lay off, Marissa, as Marissa immediately snaps at Madison and saying, hey, Shawn just intercepting before it can get into a full-blown argument, going, all right, sweetie, why don't you go wait in the car and I'll be down in a minute, as Maddie just goes, whatever, doing as her dad said, not necessarily wanting to be involved in this conversation with her mother much longer anyways, and heading downstairs, Marissa brushing off her daughter as she turns to Shawn saying, the Boys and Girls Club? Shawn saying, you told me to keep her preoccupied in the summer and she decided on the Boys and Girls Club. Yes. Marissa just saying, ugh. Whatever, it'll look humble in the press, I guess. I have something different to talk to you about. Her birth certificate. Shawn just nervously saying, what about it? Did you not find it? Marissa saying, whether I found it or not, I went to get it handled with her school, and I was told there was no field trip that needed her credentials, and they probably wouldn't even plan a trip that needed something like that. Shawn's sort of looking a little bit more nervous now as he goes, oh, weird. Marissa going, yeah, weird. Why were you snooping then? And Shawn says, what? I wasn't snooping. I told you. Oh, gosh, Madison must have been lying to me. She's been on this birth parent kick. Marissa looking in her husband's eyes for quite a while, but knowing that is definitely true, before cursing under her breath, going, fuck, all right, God, you are such an idiot. Okay, get her off the birth parent kick, okay? Shawn saying, or? Marissa quickly replying, or else, as she starts to stomp off towards the bedroom, Shawn half-heartedly throwing it, love you too, over his shoulder as Marissa begins to walk off towards the bedroom, somewhat responding with it, as Shawn heads down the stairs to go join Madison in the car so that they may head to the Boys and Girls Club. But as Marissa heads into her and Shawn's bedroom, she goes over to the closet to pull out a few articles of clothing that she wanted to be taken to the dry cleaner, rifling through a few things to give to Robert for his other tasks before kind of just sighing and deciding to sit down on the bed, relaxing and letting her shoulders slump releasing some of the tension that she seldom lets leave her body now that she has a moment alone to herself. And as she sits there sort of sighing and contemplating something, she eventually pulls out her cell phone, tapping a few things, thumb hovering over the call button for just a moment before she inevitably does hit that call button and put the phone up to her ear, and waiting for a moment for whoever's on the other end of the line to go ahead and actually answer. And when they do, Marissa simply states into the phone, "Hi, James? Maybe I will take you up on that offer for a less than professional chat." And we will go ahead and leave the Clark estate there for today. Not at a wedding place, but I guess next to a wedding store as we head to the big local mall, right downtown. But past the wedding store here, we are actually headed on over to the Power Up Smoothie Bar. As we saw, way early in the morning, Samantha was headed out to a really early morning shift here, and is still here, around noon lunchtime, as she's doing a little double shift today. We're going to just delete any actual workers that spawn here, because we're just gonna pretend at least that both Samantha and Kelly work here. So Samantha and Kelly are standing here working and chatting, pretty friendly. Last time we saw Kelly, things were not necessarily so friendly between them, as Kelly, if you don't remember, is the more nerdy girl that Samantha's friend group would pick on a lot at school. But after the course of last year, after the whole prom debacle, Samantha has kind of distanced herself from that group and has been hanging out with Kelly more. Now that they work at the same smoothie place, they have been getting to know each other better and become decently good, if not real friends, at the very least, really good work friends together, and are both chatting as the lunch rush has just kind of slowed down and things are a little bit chill at the moment. Kelly asking Sam, "Do you have enough money yet?" Samantha saying, "No, not quite." Kelly replying, "Do you think you'll be able to make enough in time? Flights will cost more closer to the date you buy them." As Samantha says, "Gosh, yeah, I know, I really hope so. I think if I take a few more double shifts, I can make it." As they continue to talk, though, their conversation is cut a little bit short, as they do have a customer coming up. Let me just get a couple customers coming up, actually. And cutting off the conversation that is happening between these two girls right now, as speaking of Samantha's former friend group, the three other still popular girls are rolling up with their evil smirks on their faces to the smoothie bar here. Excuse me, ladies. No. We have a show to film. Please don't. Oh, God. As, yes, these three walk up and kind of cut off their conversation, both of them looking less than amused as these three roll up, of course. The blonde one, Beverly, saying, "If I knew it would be the maggots of the school making our drinks, I wouldn't have suggested smoothies." Both Samantha and Kelly, looking up at the group here as the other two girls laugh. Ariana, the one with the pigtails over here, saying, "Yeah, what a tragic turn of events since the disaster of prom. Abandoned by her boyfriend, now working a poor person job." As Samantha, kind of on a hair trigger response without thinking about it too much, just kind of defensively saying, "Max and I are still together." As Quinn goes ahead and replies, "Yeah, but he barely has time for his little reject girlfriend, right?" At least that's what Dylan says. As Samantha just says, "We're both busy. I'm sorry, Dylan?" Quinn going, "Yeah, we've been talking. You really got the short end of the stick going with Maxwell, didn't you?" As, excuse me. As Samantha's face just kind of falls a little bit, looking at Quinn, seeming a little bit more concerned this time, and saying, "I would be careful with Dylan." Quinn replied, "I'm sorry, you tried to give me advice. Why would I listen to you, smoothie girl?" As Samantha just goes, "Never mind." As Quinn says, "Yeah, better." Kelly just kind of stepping in before this gets too ugly here, going, "What can we get you?" as Beverly looks over at Samantha saying, at least your other little friend has manners, Winston. Samantha just kind of shaking her head as Kelly is pretty used to the berating, but Samantha is definitely still not quite used to being on the receiving end of her former friend's cruelties. Stomping into the back of the kitchen here for a minute. Oh, excuse me. As, Kelly is going to go ahead and take their orders, and Samantha's going to take a minute to collect herself and just to try and, calm herself down. Kind of feeling a little bit of a panic attack coming on, but, knowing that she's at work, she can handle this, everything's okay. Just kind of calming herself down in the back here and trying not to think too much on it or be concerned about this situation between Dylan and Quinn that she's learned about because, hey, Quinn's not her friend anymore, so why should she matter with it that much? But okay, very short little scene there, but just kind of a little look into what's happening there, an update on those groups of people, and so we will leave them there for now. We are now headed to a building that we have not seen before, but this is the Boys and Girls Club, where Shawn and Madison, of course, have headed to sign Maddie up for summer courses, as they're both just kind of looking at the facilities. Shawn being like, oh, this place is nice. Madison saying, yeah, and they have a gaming room, and, oh, look, here's someone we can talk to. Seeing someone from across the way, and it is someone that we recognize, as it is actually Julia Winston, who Maddie is going to lead them both over to. Now her noticing the two coming over and looking a little bit startled, but just kind of going along with it, not exactly knowing how to act, but saying, oh, hello, as they walk up. Shawn immediately sticking out his hand and saying, hi, my name is Shawn, this is my daughter Madison, we were hoping to sign her up for the summer program. Julia replying, oh, wonderful, Julia, and I don't know if I can do that. Shawn saying, right, oh, Julia, Winston, gosh, I thought I recognized you. Wait, why can't you sign her up? Julia saying, I don't officially work here yet. I actually just walked out of a meeting where they gave me the position, but I don't think I'll be able to file paperwork anytime soon or know how. Shawn saying, oh, got it. All right, well, congratulations. That's wonderful. Madison chiming in a little bit stilted, but saying, I think you seem like a really cool leader. I am glad you got the job, and I will be seeing more of you this summer then. Julia just kind of smiling down at her, trying not to chuckle at the very put-upon tone that she has. Shawn seeing another worker with an actual badge saying, there's someone with a badge. As he looks over to Madison. Sounds cool, Pops. I'm just going to chill right here. As Shawn just kind of shakes his head and nods, heading over to someone with a badge that, seems like they probably are an actual employee, not who his daughter dragged him over to. Julia just kind of smiling and waiting until Shawn is definitely away, and there's definitely not anyone paying attention to them as it's not super busy today. The summer season not really kicking up yet, though, as Julia turns to Madison saying, you're the one who wanted me to keep this quiet so your parents don't find out. Madison just saying, yeah, as Julia sort of giggles going, 10 out of 10 acting then. As Madison goes, all right, so maybe it wasn't the most convincing, but my idea to sign up for the program is pretty genius. Now we can hang out whenever and not make excuses. As Julia says, you know that we can hang out whenever, and it's up to you when we stop making excuses. As Madison says, yeah, I know, I don't want to be crucified by Marissa if anything gets out. Julia correcting her, saying, your mother? As Maddie just kind of gives Julia a look, but the two just kind of chatting about it. Julia sort of chuckling about, the precocious nature of her daughter, of course, and, I didn't mean to just do a random social. As, Maddie does kind of pull her in for a hug here. Hug. As their conversation is winding down and Shawn is coming back over. Shawn kind of saying the hug and raising an eyebrow but not saying anything. Julia noticing that Shawn has come back over though and going, she's a really friendly kid. As Shawn says, yeah, she is. Well, I guess take care then. And Maddie saying, yes, awesome, I will see you this summer then, Julia. Shawn going, yep, you're all good and signed up for the summer program. As Julia says, that's wonderful, I look forward to it, Madison. Nice Seeing you too, Shawn, as Shawn just also kind of waves at Julia once more when they leave, not necessarily paying too much mind to the hug, as, I mean, hey, Julia isn't incorrect. Her daughter, Madison, is a pretty precocious kid over here, as, hold on, I'm just gonna get them to leave. As they are walking out, Madison very satisfied with that and very excited for whatever the summer is going to bring. But as they're heading back to the car, Shawn just kind of talking to Madison for a moment and saying, "Hey, Maddie?" Her just, replying, "What's up?" As Shawn says, "If your mother asks you about the birth parent thing, just tell her you've dropped it, okay?" As Madison kind of looks confused, saying, "But I kind of have. I haven't asked about it in months." Shawn going, "Yeah, I know, but your mother might bring it up again, so just don't ask and say you have, okay?" Madison, a little bit confused, but, trusting her father, as she just says, "Okay." The two heading back to their car, and so just another little quick scene to check in on things there, as we will leave all of them to that. Now, as we head on over to the Winston Manor, and kind of outside on the Circle Drive here is someone who we've seen been barred from the Winston Manor, but yet here she is on the property. Catalina just kind of lingering around outside, definitely trying to look a little bit cautious, not really catch the eye of anyone, but slowly kind of slinking up, trying to be casual, but definitely keeping a watch as she's kind of slinking over towards the mailbox. But she's not the only one alone out here, as there is someone else who is just another passerby, simply out for a jog, and seeing another person walking on over and catching her attention, kind of startling Catalina for a second as she pulls back. The man saying, "Excuse me, ma'am, do you have the time?" As Catalina pauses for a second, kind of squinting at him as she looks at her phone, just saying, 5:10. James, of course, here replying, "Thanks, guess I got lost on that runner's high. Sun already going down, huh?" Catalina just saying, As James looks over at the sprawling, Winston Manor over here, just commenting, "Whew, what a house, yours?" As Catalina bitterly chuckles out, "No." Unfortunately, as James sort of is the one squinting at her this time. They're not flirting, they're just complimenting each other. Help. Catalina just saying, "That is the Great Winston Manor, currently owned by Robert the second Winston." As James says, "Oh, gosh, I've read about that place in an issue of Millionaire magazine a few years ago. Gosh, didn't realize it was so close to home." As Catalina just kind of shortly replies, "Yep." James saying, "I mean, I would kill to have a pet like that. Puts my little 2-bedroom to shame." Catalina not super up for small talk at the moment, though, simply replying, "Yeah, As James clearly knows that the conversation is not really going much further than that, saying, "Yeah, well," oh, excuse me, sorry, eyelash. James replying, "All right, well, take care, ma'am. Thanks again for the time." Picking up his jog again as he runs off. Catalina going, "Yeah, anytime," under her breath, kind of cursing as he goes away. She pulls out her phone, and instead of kind of continuing to approach the Winston Manor as she was, quickly turning around and leaving the area, which is a good thing so that she's not spotted, as it is, getting into the evening, which means the Winstons who are out are headed home. Black convertible pulling up here as Samantha and Maxwell get out of the car here and head on up to the stoop. Samantha saying to her boyfriend, "Oh, thanks for giving me a ride home." He's saying, "Yeah, no, of course, babe," as she, gives him a little kiss on the stoop, asking, "Stay for dinner?" As he goes, "Oh, sorry, I have a study group I gotta get to, finals and all." Samantha going, "Oh, yeah, no, of course, maybe next time." Maxwell just says, maybe I'm gonna be pretty busy all week. As Samantha goes, yeah, same, graduation coming up and all. Maxwell replying, yes, I mean, I will definitely be there for that at least, my sweet. As Samantha says, I mean, and then we have the summer, too. To which Max's face falls a little bit, replying, oh, I already signed up for a couple of summer courses. Did I forget to tell you? Sam saying, yeah, you did, but that's okay. Maxwell, genuinely looking, like, really apologetic as he goes, God, I'm so sorry. My brain's just been really foggy lately, but hey, we've managed 2 semesters like that. Yeah, Sam, a little bit sad, but putting on a smile still, saying, yeah, I mean, of course. As Maxwell takes a look at the time himself, going, shit, okay, I gotta go, but I love you, I'll text you later. Samantha just throwing up bye as Max, hops into his convertible to take off for the night, and, I did this last time too. Wrong sim. As Maxwell heads off back to his study group for the night, Samantha heading in and heading upstairs to her bedroom to go get changed out of her work uniform before she even goes to talk to anyone. But almost right behind her getting home, but parking in the garage and coming in through the garage is Robert, who after a long and stressful day is also getting home. Oh, I actually don't know I don't know what way he's gonna walk in. I don't know how functional this whole Winston house is, to be completely honest, but while we're waiting for Robert to get in, I'm gonna have Juliet get started on some dinner and take a little drink for myself real quick. Do some pasta, sure. Maybe. There she goes. Yes, Robert is coming on in and seeing his mom cooking dinner yet again. Aimi just kind of chilling at the breakfast bar. Tyler hanging out, chilling near his mom, doing a little bit of paperwork and stuff at the counter, just kind of nodding at Robert as he comes in here. As Juliet notices her son walk in saying, oh, hey, sweetie, gosh, you look beat, as Robert II definitely does look pretty tired and strung out after a long day of work. Of course, we know why. Him going ahead and walking further into the kitchen here as I find my place in the script. He definitely says back to his mom, like, yeah, long day. Aimi not really, wanting to pry, knowing that it's not going to get anywhere, especially with anyone else in the room, just kind of continuing on with her paperwork, not really engaging in conversation much. Things just a little bit awkwardly quiet for a minute before Robert finally asks his mom, like, how's your day been at home? Juliet also looking a little bit nervous and saying, it's been good. Aimi, would you mind going and helping to set the table? I'm almost done over here, as Aimi looks up a little startled to see her mother-in-law and her husband staring at her going, I guess, sure, yeah. Heading into the dining room here to go ahead and set the table. We'll do just a casual blue. Waiting for her to leave as Juliet does pull Robert II over a little bit closer, saying, yeah, I've done a lot of work today. There was a handful of the spreadsheets that definitely had numerous mistakes, but I believe that everything, both payroll and all of, the client account, like, everything should be in order, at least moving forward as far as, like, functions and organization goes. I mean, obviously that's not going to fix the drought, but things should be at least running a lot smoother and easier for you to keep track of moving forward. As Robert goes, God, thank you so much. You are incredible. I can't believe you got all of them done in just one day. Juliet saying, yeah, well, I mean, it's that kind of stuff's always comes easy to me. As he knows, he is very thankful to hear a piece of good news upon coming home after a pretty stressful day, of course, giving his mom a hug and saying thank you, genuinely, things are definitely going to be tough for a while, but I think we'll be able to be on the up and up soon. And she's like, oh, that's wonderful, sweetie. Like, I'm glad I can help anyway. Just let me know. As they go ahead and just kind of hug here. Okay, once Amy sits down, I think that's the whole family. As, yeah, everyone just kind of doing idle chatter, you know, as they're eating a nice family dinner together Sunday night before the full work week starts yet again. Amy leaning over, you know, addressing her daughter. Things, like, definitely a lot more organized and, like, kind of calm and proper, much less chit-chatter happening at this table than the previous dinner that Samantha was at. Amy actually asking about that as she, you know, addresses her daughter saying, Samantha, how was dinner at Max's house? And Samantha replies, oh, good. It was good. Different, but good. Yeah. Amy just going, oh, different how? As Samantha says, more chaotic, I guess, and a very different group of people. I learned a lot. As Juliet just very innocently, but kind of ignorantly saying, oh, yes, his parents are different these days, aren't they? Robert just looking at Juliet going, Mom, as Amy says, you can just say lesbians and you can be calm about it. Juliet going, oh, yes, of course. I'm just not used to how things work these days. It's been a long time since I was out of the house socializing. Robert just sort of changing the conversation and still addressing Samantha, though, saying, graduation coming up, too. How's school? Samantha saying, good. Yeah. Still have my 4.0, you know. Juliet also replying, like, oh, that's so wonderful, dear. Amy, you know, and then also asking, and how was work today? Robert looking a little confused as he asks, work? Samantha going, yeah, I mean, I've been at the Power Up Smoothie Bar for a few months now, as Robert replies, oh, I didn't realize that you had kept up with that. Samantha saying, nope, Dickie, I didn't really talk about it much, but all good, it's good. Juliet just kind of saying, oh, gosh, so many responsibilities, you are such a gem. Samantha saying, thanks, Grandma, as Juliet also, like, talks to Julia saying, and I hear you're getting back into work, too, as Julia says, yeah, I actually, I accepted the position that they offered me at the Boys and Girls Club today. Everyone, you know, genuinely cheering and smiling at that, like, happy to hear that Julia's back on her feet. Juliet being the only one a little bit protective and saying, like, are you sure you're ready? I don't want you to feel like you are pressured to go back into the workforce. Julia just saying, Mom, I promise I wouldn't be doing this if I wasn't ready. I think I've taken plenty of time to be ready for this, and I know that I am. I'm actually really excited to be getting back out there, as Robert II says. That's good, and I think it will be really, really good for you to have something else to focus on now. And Julia's saying, yeah, things are really good right now, as, you know, everything seems pretty peachy in all of their lives at the moment. Juliet also kind of looking over to Amy and Robert next, though, and saying, what about you two? I mean, you guys have an anniversary coming up, yes? As both of them start to look a little bit more awkward, Amy replying, yeah, 19 years. Juliet looking, like, wistfully at them, replying, oh, getting close to 2 decades. Gosh, it seems like just yesterday you two were dating. Where does the time go? Robert, a little bit more focused on his plate at this point, just kind of poking around, replying, mm-hmm. As Juliet continues to prod, not really noticing any tension that has entered the conversation now, asking, have anything special planned? Robert just saying, not really. Amy, trying to take a softer tone to say, I think we'll just have a quiet celebration this year. Juliet keeping the peace, saying, yeah, that could be really nice too. Samantha definitely being pretty much the only one to really notice the tension between her parents there, but not saying anything, but just looking a little bit somberly at the two of them as conversation does move past their anniversary, but as the, you know, much less open and much less vocal group of the Winstons has their nice cordial dinner over here. We will leave them to the night. We come across our sweet little abode of Rosalie, of course, and excuse me, here we have someone, Christopher, walking up to the door, knocking on it as Rosie yells from inside, "One sec!" Just kind of running and opening the door a little bit frantically, just kind of, the Sims aren't going to do it, but her just kind of standing in the, doorway with the door open here, going, Chris awkwardly kind of like taking a step back, not playing with Bandit, but saying, hi, as Rosalie kind of looks at him saying, "I thought Amanda was coming by," as Chris says, yeah, her back started hurting, so she asked if I could swing by instead, as Rosalie says, "Oh, okay, that's, sorry." Definitely very distracted by the crying baby noises inside, as she was hanging out downstairs with Daisy. Not necessarily wanting to leave this conversation, but definitely unable to ignore the baby in the background rushing in to take care of her, just kind of leaving like the door open. Chris just kind of awkwardly standing there near the doorway as she looks back at him and makes like a brief little nodding motion, giving him permission to enter, as Christopher awkwardly does enter the home and walk over to Rosalie and the little infant here in the bassinet, kind of staring for a minute, being a little bit taken aback and not being able to take his eyes off of the baby, kind of uncomfortable just with how much he's overcome with a bit of emotion seeing this baby, as it is the first time that he's seen the little infant here, and surprised at how much like it is really kind of getting to him seeing the baby here, as they both just sort of awkwardly stare down at her, starting to fall asleep there, as Christopher says, "She's so tiny." Rosalie saying, "Yeah, 2 months early, but she's doing well." Christopher asking, what's her name? As Rosie says, "Daisy." Christopher letting out a little chuckle at that as he says, "Daisy. That's perfect." And tracks Rosie. Rosie just kind of lightly chuckling at that as well. Both of them just staring down at the baby, just kind of watching her for a minute. Chris trying to figure out what he wants to do, finding and urging him to kind of want to hold her, but definitely knowing that he's not going to act upon or ask anything of that nature, just softly saying, "She's beautiful," as Rosalie says, "Yeah." Chris continuing, "She has your eyes." Rosalie kind of joking along a little bit and saying, "Unfortunately got your nose, though," as they both kind of laugh and smile at each other before breaking it pretty quick, realizing that it was really easy to slip back into a friendly banter there, but both feeling a little bit sad but upset at how easy it was to slip back into some friendly banter there, as she goes back to kind of tending to the baby here, as she says, "My sketch pad," as Chris finally kind of snaps to, going, "Oh, right, yeah, here," pulling out the sketch pad that he was here to return in the first place and handing it over to her. She just kind of motions for him to set it on the table over there. Chris kind of shuffling before saying, "Yeah, I should get back before it's too late." Rosalie going, "Yeah, thanks for dropping it off." Chris saying, "Yeah, of course," as he just kind of awkwardly treads back out onto the porch to pretend it's still dark out. Rosalie going, "Have a good night," as Chris says, "Yeah, you too, Rosalie," and Daisy kind of giving a tinier little wave to the baby. Oh my god, we're going to ignore everything else happening in the game. As Rosalie continues her night, Christopher leaving and taking a little moment on the porch to go ahead and kind of collect himself after all of that and ball his hands into fists, kind of looking at the sky, surprised to find that tears are almost on the brink of his eyes as well, just trying to collect himself and push down any of these really intense emotions that are coming up that he wasn't necessarily expecting to run into on his way over here, but knowing that he should definitely get them in order before he does head home. So we will leave them there as we head back to a building we've seen before. I don't know if you'll recognize it because I don't think we've really seen this part of it, but we are at the local hotel that we have seen a handful of times in a few different scenarios, but we are down in the lobby tonight as someone is entering the lobby. There he is, and James kind of heading in towards the back where the restaurant is, the kind of smooth jazz playing, walking in to see Marissa Clark over here at the bar, dressed a bit more scantily clad than usual as he walks over to her and takes a seat, kind of raising an eyebrow. She was supposed to have a drink. I don't know what happened. I gave her one, and now it's missing. Bartender? Maybe she drank it already. Okay, anyways, we'll pretend that she has a drink in her hand as she raises an eyebrow back at him, James sitting down and saying, wow, not what I would wear to talk about a dead parent, but whatever you're most comfortable in. As Marissa rolls her eyes and brushes him off, saying, please, only a fool would think I actually called to talk about that miserable sack. What you drinking? As he says, scotch on the rocks, as she replies, oh, what a coincidence, shaking her own drink that's almost done, ordering 2 more for them from the bartender here. As James continues the conversation with, so if my comforting services are not needed, Marissa kind of cutting the bullshit and saying, don't play coy. I know you felt a spark between us, otherwise you would have knocked it off with the compliments after a first cup of coffee. And you did say you were interested in whatever I needed outside of business talk, yes? James kind of coolly smiling back and replying, that I did, and yes, I have. As Marissa downs the rest of the drink that she currently has in her hand, just pretty boldly saying to him, listen, I have a suite for the rest of the night, and I will be having a long, relaxing bit of me time regardless. It's up to you whether or not you join, as she flashes an extra hotel key at him, as James kind of coughs a little, taken aback at her brashness, saying, wow, aren't you married, Mrs. Clark? Marissa replying, you knew that before you even started flirting, so why make it a problem now, James? As James replies, touche. Both of them grabbing their new drinks. Marissa saying, look, maybe I need a distraction from that exact fact right now. So morality aside, are you in or are you out? And as she holds out the hotel key to him, sort of fidgeting with it, flipping it between her fingers, just staring at him, James seems to look between it and her face, contemplating things for a while, as it seems that he's weighing his options in his head before wickedly grinning back at her and taking the card key out of her hands. So we'll leave them there for the night as we head a bit further across town to an undisclosed location. Pretty late at night now, the sun is down. Rona Clark waiting here with her hat and sunglasses on as Catalina Winston walks up, not super acknowledging her presence, just sort of taking purchase on the wall next to her, both of them looking straight forward. Rona commenting about, it's dark. Catalina saying, Rona wanting to get the show on the road, prompting her with, well, as Catalina heaves a heavy sigh before saying, there's a detective staking out the Winston Manor. Are you sure we got rid of all the evidence from the Ritter Gala? And that is where we're going to leave the episode for the night. So thank you so much for watching. This is obviously dubbed over, so I don't remember exactly what I was saying in the outro here. I believe it was a lot of general overview of the next streams coming up, which I usually cut out of these archives anyways. So I will just go ahead and say thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed episode 3. Hopefully it still wasn't too clunky, even though I had to dub in a couple sections. They're only a small amount, but hopefully I don't really have to do that much in the future. Fingers crossed. crossed. There is plenty more to come. Episode 4... What is episode 4? Episode 4, Reflection, will be up sometime next week after it streams on the 25th. And there's lots of drama to come as we are heading into the halfway mark for season 2. So I hope you're enjoying. Feel free to discuss in the comments or in the Discord. There's a Discord link in the description as always. And our Traitorous discussion channel is always there to hear your reactions, responses, theories, memes, etc. And so, yeah, I look forward to hearing what you guys think about this one. I love you all very, very much and appreciate your support as always. I hope you have a wonderful rest of your night and a beautiful rest of your week, and I will talk to you guys later. Night, kitties.